All right, welcome everybody. Dr. Keith, how's everyone doing? Hopefully you're all doing well. Can you hear me okay and see my Thinkorswim chart? It's got the NQ up there. All right, thank you, Kim. Good to see everybody. Okay, well, we'll get started here. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in. My goal of these sessions is to really show you how I trade, give you big picture on what I'm seeing, but then answer any questions you have, okay? Okay, so as I mentioned last week, right, we were at a standstill where I didn't really want to short, and I'm just looking at the NASDAQ right now, okay? Back here, I didn't really want to short, but we were waiting, right? We went for bike rides, we took some time off, possibly, and then we got the long trigger again, right? So, that's important, to wait, to have a plan. Now, today's very interesting, depending on how it ends up closing here in the next hour on the futures. But, we had three solid good up days. Then we had, a little bit of a down day, but it looked like we may start potentially consolidating here. So are we going to head lower or are we going to head higher, right? I've noticed over the last 2 or 3 days, I don't know if it has anything to do with the election yesterday with the comedy show, I should say, but what I've noticed was retailer traders, especially after last night's comedy session, they're shorting. So we're now more net short than we've been in a little while. What does that mean? Typically, we're going to head higher. Okay, so again, we've got the seasonality saying we typically go higher, right? Let me grab my drawing tool. I thought I had it open. Bear with me, I'm just bringing up my drawing tool. Well, it doesn't want to cooperate, it looks like. But anyway, so we have the seasonal aspect heading higher. We've got retailers shorting, and we've got a Laguerre trigger on the market. So, now as you're looking at your individual stocks, right, I'm absolutely ready, for long play, right? You can look at the Dow as well. Okay, you can look at the E-mini S&P. They're all going to look very similar right now, is what we like to see. Okay. So again, my expectation over the next week or so, we're going to head higher, which means I'm looking for the seasonal long plays. Okay, I took one in Apple. Bring up Apple here. I had a Laguerre trigger. Again, we're following the rules, right? I had a Laguerre trigger, and bam, hopefully it continues higher for us. You can see from a seasonal aspect, it's pretty good. I like the tech stocks right now. We had that retracement. Now these are good buying opportunities, okay? My favorite, which I didn't do publicly because it's expensive as anything, is NVIDIA. But that's my trade of the year, the one I thought was going to go the highest this year percentage-wise, one of them anyway. Again, look at that beautiful trigger here. NVIDIA will be hitting new highs soon, more than likely. But what I wanted to show you today is, as you're looking at your stocks, sometimes you have to be patient, right? And you wait for those triggers, okay? Obviously, Facebook doesn't have a seasonal yet, but it's following the monsters, I call them. Google, same thing. If you're looking to buy Google as a hold even, right, now's the time, right? We got it. We got triggers. We got seasonality coming. And that's how you make that consistent income, whether you're buying a stock to hold, whether you're doing option plays. That's really what we're looking for. Okay, so we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But the other one I'm in right now on a spread is Netflix. Again, doing real well. I just saw a lot of opportunity in these FANG stocks, we call them, right? All right, so let's talk about the dollar index. Let me resort this for right now. Okay, so the dollar index, again, typically it heads higher. We talked about this last week, and it has been. Now we're having a little bit of a retracement here. What does that mean? Again, I like it to the long side. The only issue is, right, let me scrunch this together, right? We're at this massive downturn, okay? So now what we're looking for, let me blow it back up. I found my drawing tool. All right, let me grab the right color. So now my only issue is you're fighting this down. Wow, hold on. You're fighting this massive downtrend, right? So what I want is this. Right here. I want to see a lower high. So I want to see a new low that's higher than these lows, okay? And then that's when I'll look to take it. Okay, so if you're not in this trade or if you're out of this trade, okay, now that's what I'm looking for. I'm not interested in shorting this because again, we got a nice seasonal move typically for most of the year coming up now. But let's confirm that this is going to be a higher low before we go and just go long, okay? It did break by this 50 period. So is this going to hold? Is this going to hold and then head higher? Now we can just wait and see on the dollar index. All right, gold. So again, gold, my favorite trades coming up towards the end of the year, the long play. But I would love to see gold at this point, head lower. Head lower, give us a better buying opportunity here in the near future. I would be willing to short this if we get a retracement back up to, this 1950 level here in the next week or two, and then we get a nice short trigger. It's a possibility. But remember, big picture, we're in an uptrend. We've had a retracement, and we have the late November, December long play coming up. So I'm definitely looking to do more long plays, but just not yet. Not yet. Okay, Mr. VIX or Mrs. VIX. So then we had that spike in volatility, came down. Now it's just kind of consolidating at this point. So, what'll probably happen is it'll continue down. We're actually getting a sell trigger on the VIX, right? Which means it should head lower, which means the stock market typically goes higher, right? So everything's in alignment right now. We've got sentiment where retailers are starting to short the market again significantly. We've got the VIX reducing volatility in theory anyway, as of right now. And we got everything looking we want, okay? So definitely all bulls forward. The only asterisk out there, we do have elections coming, and you can see shifts just based off of some unexpected news that could come out, okay? I'm not worried about a big picture, but it can happen. So just be aware of that. Have your stop losses, or if you're doing options, have your mental. This is where I'm going to get out if it goes against me. Okay. Bonds. Again, I'm short. So let me bring up. I'm short the TLT. Okay. And again, you can see why, right? You can see why we typically bottom right around November here. Okay. So it's been actually, I got in and it's just been consolidating. Today it had a little bit nicer down. Maybe this is the breakout I was looking for now to come down maybe this 158 level, okay? But again, I like bonds short right now. Currently have that as an open trade. Okay, so now let's talk about crude oil. So again, this is a good example, folks, where, I trade all my trades, 99% of my trades are seasonally based, right? And sometimes you got to look at things logically, though. And when you look at, come on, let me continue here. All right, so when you look at crude oil, it's been this uptrend, right? So I told you I didn't take this initial short, even though we had a seasonal short, because it worked out perfectly and I should have. No, I didn't take it because it was a pretty massive uptrend and I wanted to wait for the second trigger, okay? Well, the actual second trigger is right now, okay, right now, okay? But the reason I haven't traded it, not publicly or personally here, is I don't really like the price action, just the pure price action. I'm just more, technically it's heading up. We're right at that 50 period and it's consolidating like this now. So even though I like it short, and I think it will head short, at some point we'll just see some big bars down again. I'm not willing to get into it right now. Okay, so sometimes you just got to pass on it. And then again, once later on early next year, we'll look for long plays. But the trend's up. We only had like a week retracement. Now it's heading back up. I think it could consolidate for a while. I just don't see a huge advantage right now. If I had to make a trade, I'd go short. Seasonally we should go short. We got a Laguerre trigger, but I'm going to pass on it for now. Okay. So we talked about Apple. AMD, is a trade that I really like it when we get into November. Okay, but again, we're in a massive uptrend. We had a retracement. We had a Laguerre trigger. I know several people that took AMD, even though it was a little bit early, expecting those new highs. If you want to jump it early, when you have a nice uptrend, some things you can do is, let's say you normally do 2 contracts, right? Go in at 1 contract. If it goes against you, then if you get another Laguerre trigger long before you get out, you can then add into the position, right? Or just go in half size, and if it goes against you, get out, okay, after your defined risk. But I like AMD. It's been very bullish. I think we'll hit new highs here in the near short term, okay? Okay, so we've talked about Amazon. Let's talk about Tesla. So here's another just phenomenal trade, right? So again, if you can afford Tesla, right, look at the price. We have the curve on the Laguerre now. We got a nice seasonal. Tesla obviously been in an uptrend, okay? So if you got in today, you want to at least hold it to that 500 level, great buying point. Again, I know several people that have purchased Tesla, again, to hold on to it. And that's how you can use the seasonal and the Laguerre. Even if you're going to hold on a position for 2, 3, 4 years, it's still good to just get in at a certain entry point versus just getting in to get in, okay? You should always have specific rules of when you enter into a trade, okay? The spiders, again, we talked about with the ES. Again, great play here. If you're looking to do an option on the SPY, what I would do it for roughly a end of Thanksgiving Day expiration, okay? Between now and Thanksgiving, this should be higher. Historically, it has with high probability. So those of you that like to trade the spider, you want to hang on to it a little bit longer. Maybe an early December expiration would be a good play here on the spiders. Okay. All right, let me just check and see if there are any questions. No questions yet. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so now it really comes down to what am I looking for? And again, if you have the data mining, let me refocus everybody. If you have the data mining, keep it in front of you, because there's some phenomenal trades that have worked out 30, 40 years worth of data. Okay, well, I can't talk and find this. Okay, so keep an eye on those, right? Keep an eye on those, because we're in a bullish market right now, like we should be, okay? And when you have that with these high seasonal moves, okay, they can be very, very effective, okay? Again, some of them that I like that I'm looking at, let me just bring open my notes here. So one thing I've been extremely patient on this year, I know some are already in this, Hormel Foods. Okay, it triggered today, which means tomorrow. Look at that move, folks. Okay, that will probably be a trade that I do publicly tomorrow morning on Hormel. Okay, there's really no reason not to. We've got all this room up to 53 from where we're at. Again, it's on the data mining. It's confirmed here, and we got our trigger point now. Okay, so Hormel is definitely a trade that I'm looking at to enter. Okay, so what kind of trade? There's a lot of ways to play it. Okay, if you're looking at the seasonal, I would like to go out until roughly December or February. Okay, so December or February. Obviously, the further you go out, the more expensive, right? But you could just do a roughly December expiration option there. Okay. All right, Jim, you got in yesterday. Perfect. Yeah. So again, nothing's guaranteed, but what this has given you is an extremely high probability trade. And you can go back into last year. For example, let's just take a look. I do this all the time as well to see when would the entry point have been. Darn it, let me go back just a tad further. So I'll go back 2 years. Okay, so I can get back here to November here. So the trigger point, where am I at? Okay, I'm getting there. Or is this year's? Yes. All right, I'm almost there. So you start looking for the window. You've got a trigger right here on 927. Again, depending on your option play, last year you probably got out of that initial trade. So if you took it right at the 926 trigger, you probably got stopped out. Then you got a re-trigger in October, and it ran right up. Okay, so again, depending on what you did here and how long it was out and what you were down, whether you stayed in this trade or not. But then again, what you can see is when you have a February top, right? You can take triggers. You could take the October one. You could take this Christmas one right here. So again, got it against you a little bit. Then you made your money. So free advice, right? Hormel, between now and February, when you get a Laguerre trigger, you have high probabilities that that's going to work out for you. Okay. And as of today, yesterday, right, we got our trigger we were looking for. So we followed the rules. Hopefully it's as good as this one that happened in July, right? Look at that beauty. Okay. We got a V-shaped pattern, double bottom, whatever you want to call it. It looks good, folks. I might go buy some more Hormel chili tonight or something. I don't know. My wife would kill me though. All right, so January, perfect. Yeah, I like the January expiration. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. Some of you, will look at buying Hormel as a longer term investment, right? Now's the time, in my opinion. Okay. All right, what else am I looking for? So Adobe, anybody check out Adobe lately? Look at that seasonal, right? We got the trigger. Again, I didn't go publicly in on this one just because of the price. But Adobe's a great opportunity because we have room to the highs, right? It's been a monster uptrend. These are the ones that are going to make you the money, folks. These type of trends. What about HZO? Oop, hold on, HZO. We've talked about this one, right? So it's got a nice percent move coming. We had a trigger here. It hasn't done anything since that trigger, okay? So if you're not in this, I'm not yet. But if you're not in it, right now you can kind of wait and see. You got this big move coming, okay? So Marine Max, if you're in it, you're good to go. If not, again, you can go to your 4-hour chart, right? You can say, okay, let me look at the next trigger long. On the 4-hour, it happened here at 10 o'clock on the 18th. Now you just need another one in order to go long, okay? And what we like to see is a higher low, right? When you get that trigger, a higher low, looking for that trend change. So yeah, if you're following the rules, you don't really have to overthink anything, okay? All right, so let me bring up SIG here. All right, so Alaska Airlines. How many of you are still in that? Any of you? Had a nice trigger here, right? Now it's had its free fall. But look at it now. Again, no trigger yet, but Alaska Air is getting really, really close for that long play, right? Right at that bottom Bollinger Band, consolidating. So if you like the airlines, Alaska Air is the one, in my opinion, over Delta. Okay, they're both good, but from a percent move coming. Okay. All right, what else we got here? I'm just trying. Let me sort by a lot of triggers right now. I'm just going to sort and look for green with good, nice, positive move coming up. Right. This cool thing is you're just looking for the good stuff. The good stuff. Let's go by 20 because there's so many triggers. All right, so I'm going to go by the next 20 days, and I just sorted by 20 days. I'm going to start from the bottom here. So again, Delta, right? Nice move. SIG's got a nice 20-day move coming. It's waiting on trigger. So CNHI had a trigger. Okay, that's one that I'm trying to get filled on. Okay, I'm not filled yet. I'm trying to get in at 70 cents on the December 18th expiration. I'm not filled yet. Okay, this is my trading service account so that I keep everything tracked. Okay, but this is a great opportunity. CNHI, cheap, good return coming on CNHI. All right, BBD, Bradesco, short 20-day, right? But then we roll over, so not something I'm interested in. I like to see positive, positive, positive. Okay, AKAM. Okay, we had a trigger back here, major money. Now you can look to re-enter on the next Laguerre trigger long, or if you really like it, on the next 4-hour trigger. Okay, so that's again how you play it. You wait for that next trigger. You just don't go in. Okay, folks, that doesn't work good most of the time. You need triggers. Have rules. Baidu, again, I love Baidu. I think that's going much, much higher. You have that nice trigger here. Kind of consolidated, spiked up today, but I like Baidu. If you're in it, should be a good trade to probably the new highs here in the near term, at least that 132 level. You like some of the cheaper stocks like CEMI, had the trigger here. Okay, you can buy the stock or you can do the option on these. All right, let me bring up some Deere, by the way. That's one of my favorites. You have to get in on the 4-hour on John Deere though, right? Because it's too strong of a trend. It's too strong of a trend. And let me tell you, so we have a tractor, a John Deere, and in a couple weeks I'm moving from West Coast to East Coast. Okay, so we're bringing everything with us. And the reason why we're bringing our tractor, we're having it moved, is because if you're going to move to North Carolina, there was no tractors available. Okay, so the supply is low, prices are high, and you're seeing this in the uptrend. So what you want to do is you want to take triggers on the 4-hour if you want to have a chance to get in on John Deere. Okay, again, I don't love getting in at highs, but John Deere is going to go much higher, folks. Okay. Okay. We talked about Adobe. Again, love it, love it. Perfect looking opportunity for us on Adobe. All right, let me take a look here. I want to do a teaching lesson here in a minute, but let me bring up futures today. I just want to highlight a few. So cocoa. You can see here on cocoa, we're getting close for short play. So I like to see that, you know, we're kind of consolidating now after this uptrend, but keep an eye on cocoa. In the near short term, we're going to have some good short trades. We've been looking at long plays on cotton. Again, it's low volume, okay, and it's just been hard to get in. It's just been hard to get in. You have to go off smaller time frames. Soybeans and soybean meal we talked about, right? Very, very bullish typically. And it's just a matter of how to get in, right? So again, when you have this and you have the windows of some of these opportunities, okay, you really want to go in a smaller time frame, just like soybeans as well. Okay, so look at my little data mining there. So from 10.3 to 10.18 on soybeans, okay, same with soybean meal, it's gone higher, okay, over the last 15 years. So, you know, it's starting a little early possibly. Yes, you know, we no Laguerre trigger yet, okay, but we know coming up, soybeans typically head higher. So if you're a futures trader, soybeans, you know, or if you want like an ETF, I think it's SOYB, okay, you can look at doing a play on SOYB as well, okay. All right, orange juice. So we have a combo long right here, okay. Again, I don't do this one publicly because the volume stinks, but combo long, look at that seasonal on orange juice, okay. Enough said on that, right? Let's see here. Sugar. We're getting close to a top on sugar now. So again, I'm not looking at any new positions, but I will look in the near future on short plays on sugar, okay? Natural gas, again, same thing. We're basically looking for long plays, you know, up until mid-November. Copper, nice uptrend. Look like we're going to get another trigger here soon on copper. Oh, lumber. No, lumber's another one. It's thinly traded, okay, but look at that uptrend heading down. You know, lumber's going to be heading higher. So again, if you ever have questions on futures, I don't spend as much time on it in these sessions because most of you are stock and option traders. You know, feel free to, you know, send me an email if you want any questions on it. Now, you know, Bitcoin margin's ridiculous on this, but again, you know, we're going to hit new highs at some point here soon on Bitcoin. It's pretty bullish. Then there's actually a seasonal short in January on Bitcoin. A pretty powerful one, in fact, okay? Okay, so let me bring up something like the spiders, and I want to do a quick little, I just want to give you something to think about here. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit, okay? So one of the questions I get, and there's no perfect answer, we all struggle with it at times, is, you know, when do I get out of a trade, right? And in some cases, when do I get in a trade? But we at least have a nice trigger that, you know, that in my opinion is one of the best around, if not the best, of when to enter, okay, with the Laguerre. But the next question always comes up, which is a phenomenal question, right, is how do I know when to get out or protect myself and so forth? So, you know, I was talking to one of my mentees the other day, and, you know, sometimes you learn a lot, right? I'm just like all of you. I'm always researching. Okay, I'm always researching. I'm always looking for things to add, you know, to improve my probabilities. And for years, you know, I've been using and looking at Heikin-Ashi candles. Okay, but then I tend to go away from them because they tend to be confusing for a lot of people. Okay, but the nice thing about Heikin-Ashi candles is Heikin-Ashi, Heikin-Ashi. Okay, the nice thing about them is, and you can read up on them. I won't do a lesson on what they, you know, all of the math on them. although I will do a live webinar soon on Heikin Ashi. But it gives you a better feel for when to stay in a trend, okay? It's not like a traditional candlestick. So all you can do, folks, is if you go up to if you have Thinkorswim, for example, if you go up to style and you go to chart type and you pick Heikin Ashi, okay? Now, I've got a special indicator where I have these lines as well. Again, I don't want to complicate things today, okay? But what this is telling you is when it's green, Heikin Ashi, this is the Heikin Ashi candle, okay? It's telling you now that you have a potential trend change. So let's say, for example, you shorted this move here on the SPY, okay? Let's just assume you did, okay? You had confirmation, you had a red candle, so then you go in right here on the next bar. You might see, then the hard is when you get out, okay? Well, a very conservative method is to get out when the Heikin Ashi turns the opposite color, okay? I like to usually wait 2 candles. So in theory, I like to wait for 2, then I would get out, okay? And again, I'm gonna have more training on this. I just wanna give you food for thought on this because I'm not gonna have another live webinar for, 3 weeks because I'm gonna be doing the move from Oregon to North Carolina, okay? But the cool thing about it is once you get in, you can have a rule that I'm going to stay in as long as the candle stays red on the Heikin Ashi, okay? I think you'll like the result of that. And it'll give you, again, rules that are a little bit easier to follow, which everybody struggles with, right? Okay. Now I have a customized indicator that I had created that will show you, this is green right here, this line is the actual price of the open. And this red line right here is the actual price of the close. Because again, Heikin Ashi is not giving you the actual open and close, okay? And that's not the intent of it. But what you can still look at is, so on this big down candle on the Heikin Ashi, which is a bearish, pretty bearish candle, okay? The actual price opened here and closed here. You see that? That's the actual close if you go back to a price bar, okay? But anyway, there's a lot to it, but it's very, very simple. So all I'm getting at is, let's say you got into something like NVIDIA lately, okay? Maybe if I can type anyway. What am I doing here? Why am I drawing a blank there? So let me bring up Apple because I can't think of it. Okay, so let's say this is, again, these are Heikin Ashi. That's right, NVDA. Thanks, Mike. So let's say, here, bear with me. I got to get rid of this call. Okay, sorry about that. So let's say you got in, you got a Laguerre trigger, okay, at the same time the Heikin Ashi turned green. So let's say you got in here, okay? When do you want to get out on Apple? Well, not yet, right? So what happened was Apple opened up at this white dot, the actual price, and closed on this red, okay? But you can see the green, the Heikin Ashi. So it's still green, okay? And the more it's filled, the more bullish it is, big picture, or red is bearish. So again, if you're in this trade and you're looking at when would I get out, okay? As far as, let's say you get up 50% on an option play and then you take half your contracts off, but you want to let the other ride. You can either get out then after the first red candlestick, or I like to wait for the second, okay? So again, as an example, let me just blow up Apple here and look. So let's say we got in on this trigger here on July 30th, okay? Hold on, I don't know what's going on. Too much. I gotta quit drinking so much coffee in the mornings here. Okay, so there's Apple. Okay, so we had the trigger right here. Okay, so let's say you took it. Okay, let's say you took profits right here. Okay, but you want to let the second part of your trade run. When would you have gotten out if you're waiting for 2 bars on the Heikin Ashi, right? You wouldn't have got out here because there's only one bar. You would have got out right here, okay, right here. So you see how simple that is to help you keep in trends, though? And it's very specific, easy rules to follow. Now let me bring open the regular price chart. So you remember there's only one red candle here, okay? There's only one red candle until we would have gotten out. So if you go back and you bring in the regular candle, you see here, you have different reds. So it might confuse you, or you might want to get out. You might have got out here, okay? But if you go back to then the Heikin-Ashi, okay, there was no reason to get out based on those rules, okay? And if you have it, hey, I want it after the first red, that's fine. You get out here. I mean, you can, right? But when you have a big, strong uptrend, I definitely like to wait for that second candle, okay? Now, let me bring up NVIDIA again, because thank you, Mike, for, I don't know why I couldn't remember that as my favorite stock. Okay, so, you know, let's say again, let's say we got in here, okay? Wow. Right here. Let's say we got in right here, okay? So you get in, you get two red candles, okay? It closed right here. So maybe you close the trade, which is almost, you got in here, you'd be down a little bit. But my point is, you don't even have to wait for a bigger loss or anything like that. You can just get out. Then you can wait for re-enter right here, and there you go. So if you're in NVIDIA, when do you get out? You know, let's say you took partial profits. Now you just wait for that next red candle or the next two red candles is what I would recommend, okay? Of course, having your stop at least break even, though. Don't turn it into a losing trade, okay? So again, I will do a class on the actual what is Heikin-Ashi, but I've had a lot of questions lately, and I even struggle at times on when is it time to take profits or get out of a trade. Heikin-Ashi does a really, really good job with that. Okay. Any questions on that? So play around with it. You know, again, if you have Thinkorswim or TradeStation, again, it's nothing you have to pay for. Just remember that the open and close aren't the actual prices. You know, so you have to then go back to a price chart. Again, I just had programmed in a red and a green for the open and close, so I know. But just so you're aware of that. Okay. They are, Jim, and again, what I love about them is they're very effective, okay, but they're also easy to read. Because remember, the real power, in my opinion, on my trading system is the seasonal moves, okay, is the seasonal moves. So let me just show you one more thing, and I wasn't going to do this, so I'm not prepared. Bear with me. I want to bring up something real quick. Let's see here, as long as I can find it. Okay, I'm almost there. So a great example, okay? Let me bring it up here. Right, we talked about Hormel, right? From a data mining perspective, it's fantastic, okay? Let me make sure I have the Heikin-Ashi. There they are. So if you're looking to do a long play on Heikin-Ashi, you had that Laguerre trigger right here, okay, and then it re-triggered here. So you actually kind of have like a false signal. But just from a pure Heikin-Ashi, okay, you had the Laguerre, and now you have green candles, okay? So now we stay in this trade until we get two red candles, okay? How long is that going to take? Who knows, right? Again, we had a Laguerre trigger here, right? You had one here, one here. You never had two in a row. So in theory, you would have gotten out, as I mentioned, you know, right here, okay? Or you can do the one candle and get out shorter, eliminate risk, right? But I'll go over more specific strategies, but I wanted to give you time to play with this because I think it's an underutilized tool. And the real purpose of this is to keep you in trends, okay? So again, if you go back, look at all the green on Hormel, and then if you go back to the normal price chart, See all the reds? And it doesn't mean you would have got out, but you see how it's just more confusing, okay? And so that's why I like Hakanashi, and you know why I went away from it. You know, everyone, you know, there's so many tools out there. In these type of markets, they're extremely, extremely helpful. So why don't somebody give me a stock, and we'll take a look at, you know, the seasonality and the Hakanashi, and we'll take a look at some examples here, because this is being recorded so you can play with it. Anybody have anything you want me to look at? TSM? Okay. All right, so TSM has a seasonal long, obviously, okay? So interesting enough here, right, we got a combo, we got a Laguerre, and we got Hakanashi green. So let's say you got in this yesterday or today at the open, okay? So again, you just wait for the next red or one or two red candles to take profits, okay? Or if you're doing an option play and you're up, let's say you're up 30%, and you're good, right? You don't want to turn that into a loser, right? You take off one contract if you're doing two contracts, you put the other one at break even, and then you stay in until you get a one or two red candles, okay? You know, if you can see here the seasonal long started in August, okay? And they can start early. So if you took this trigger here, that's a little early, okay, to take that, right? But you didn't have any, you had two red here. The other thing is you'll learn, if you have really, really narrow, that's consolidation. So you may decide, if you were in this trade, I want to wait until we get more clear direction, because all this is doing is indecision, okay? But then once you're in a trade like that, when you have Hakanashi this aggressively green, okay, those are really, really good opportunities. Again, one candle, you're okay. One candle, you're okay. Bam, bam, bam. Maybe you got out at the second one. But even here, I would question, because they're really small candles, okay? They're really small candles. But what that also shows you is maybe you're going to consolidate for a while. So, hey, take profits, right? No one's ever going to be mad if they got in down here and got out there, right? Everybody's happy. Everybody's happy, okay? Okay, URI, sure. So again, United Rentals is a beautiful play. We got a trigger yesterday on URI. So if you're in this trade at this point, right, it closed right here where this little green is. That's the actual price it closed. So it opened here, closed here. Okay, here it opened, here it closed. Open, close. That's what the green, the green is the open, the red is the close, okay? But again, you're in this, you can just say, okay, as long as it stays green, I'm staying in the trade, okay? You can see we're looking for long plays since August. You had some curvatures here on August 4th. So if you got in, you just stay in until you get a couple red candles, maybe right here, okay? So again, the key is not, my goal is never to get in at the bottom and get out at the top, because it's not realistic, okay? So, you know, if you took this curve and you got in right here, okay, that means you would have got in at the open. Where is that? So at the open, you would have got in right here, okay, on this candle. That's the green. And then let's say you got out right at this second one right here, okay? So you got out at, let's say, you know, 176, and you got in at, you know, 163. I'm just eyeballing this, right? Those are good profits with options, okay? Those are good profits. Okay, let's look at NKLA. So no seasonal data on that, but if you're looking at, I'd be looking at shorts, right? We're in a downtrend, okay? So again, when you had the Laguerre trigger here, if you took it, okay, you had two green, you get out. So in this case, a break even or whatever, let's say break even trade, right? it can potentially save you. And then what you do is you got the Laguerre heading back down. So when you get another couple red candles, you can look to re-enter. Okay. So I've always used smaller time frames to re-enter, but you can also use Ikamuchi to re-enter. Okay. Yeah, Jim. Yeah, if you have poor interest, I didn't look at URI from option standpoint. You have to buy the stock. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so SNH, SNA. You guys are giving me great examples. Excellent. So another one where we basically started looking for longs in October on Snap-on. Okay, and so we had our trigger, recent trigger right here. Good entry. So now you just wait for the green candles to continue, right? It triggered a little bit early, which happens, you know, so right here, but let's say you would have got into this trade. Here's where, if you're just going to go by the rules, you would exit right here. But man, those really skinny candlestick Heikin-Achi, okay, that's indecision. You probably want to wait for a third, okay, when you have that. If the second one here would have been as wide as this, absolutely get out, okay? So here you had an indecision, but then the second one, okay, was a little bit thicker. I would have got out right here, okay? So I would have got in and got out right here, and it continued higher. But again, you can see that where if you were looking at a price candle, you're going to see a lot more red, okay? So it helps you stay in the direction that you're looking for, okay? So I hope you guys like that. Again, it's something that I use. I think is extremely effective. I love using it, and I'm going to start showing this and trading for you publicly with that, because again, the hardest part about trading, especially if you know stocks have a high probability going higher, right? The hardest part is, when do I get into a trade, which we know how to do that, but when the heck do I get out, or at least eliminate my risk, right? And I think if you use that, you know, that's going to be extremely helpful. Let me see. I see some questions here. Okay, British. Oh yeah, let me show. I can show a British pound yen pair. Okay. So we're looking for long plays on a British pound yen. See that seasonal? Beautiful. We have the trigger right here. Okay. So now you're in it until it turns red. Okay. Sorry, Patterson. I just saw. Let me see. How did you get the narrow green red light in the Heikin-Achi candle? Oh, Patterson, I will send that to you. Okay. That's programmed. Yeah. Yeah. We'll do it in our one-on-one. Yes, I use it for anything. It works for anything. Okay. You know, if you look at like US dollar, Mexican peso, one of my favorite pairs to trade typically, right? We got a seasonal upcoming where we had this down. And a good thing is, let's say you were short on this, right? Again, we not only here got a combo long, okay, you got the Heikin-Achi green. So if you got in, right, today you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, am I going to get out, right? Here's a great example. I would not get out on this indecision candle here, okay? I would not. If tomorrow it's gone down and most of it's painted red, then I would get out, okay? But I wouldn't do it off just one indecision. So this is a great example. I mean, this is an extremely high probability trade. We've got our trigger. We've got our seasonality. Now you're just waiting, when do I get out, okay? All right, I think I answered all of the questions. All right, so as I mentioned, folks, I'm actually heading and I'm getting packed up. We're having movers move us from obviously Oregon all the way to North Carolina over the next 3 weeks roughly. So I'm going to be canceling the next 3 sessions. You know, I've got to drive. My wife's taking a vehicle. I'm taking a vehicle. We've hired somebody to take a vehicle because of all our horses we're taking. So anyway, you'll see the cancellations, but we'll be back, late October as far as these live sessions. Okay, I'll still be doing alerts and everything except for about a week where I'm actually in the travel. It's going to take 6 days of driving, but I'm not forgetting about these sessions. We'll just get restarted once I'm back. So sure, Olga, let me look at some of these. We got a few minutes here. So Hum, for example. Okay, so again, phenomenal seasonal long, right? Good job. So when do you get out? Let's say you got in, okay? Here's where it closed today, that red line, okay? So is there any reason to get out in your opinion, folks? No, right? That's a lot of green there, no red yet. And again, that doesn't mean you keep your full position. You don't have to do that, right? So once you get up a certain percentage, whatever your goal is, let's say your goal was 30% or 20%, you can get out of at least half of your trade, right? Or you can just watch it every night and say, okay, at the end of the day, when I get a red candle, but there's no reason to get out of this. Humana is a phenomenal trade, meeting all the criteria. Very, very proud of that trade. Okay, UNH. Same thing, right? Okay, you pick some good ones, right? So look at that. Beautiful trigger. Look at the seasonality on that. Okay? No reason to get out. No reason to get out. LNG. So this is interesting, right? So what this is telling you, and we know Cheniere Energy is heading higher, folks, okay? And probably went in this trigger here, okay? So, again, an idea that you can do to manage it, okay? If you're using Heikin-Ashi, let's say you got in on this trigger right here, okay? So one red candle I'm not getting out, now it's green, now it's red. Now we got a second red that has, a decent amount of red to that candle, right? So let's say you're only down 15%. Again, I'm just throwing out numbers, okay? You can say, well, heck, I'm just going to get out because who cares about a small loss? And I'll look to re-enter, right, once I get that next Laguerre trigger with green candles, okay? That way you don't have to maximize your loss. You can just get out, or you can say, I'm going to add in when I get that next green candle, as long as I don't get down to whatever percent loss I'm okay with, right? So there's a couple ways to play that. If I was in this trade, let's say I was in this trade based on this trigger here, okay? This candle here after today would be an idea that, hey, it's probably time to get out. This is where it closed because I know I can re-enter. So if for some reason Cheniere Energy continues down, I don't make that a 80% loss. Okay, I get out at current price now. That way, when I do get my re-enter with this phenomenal seasonal play coming, I'll just make it up and more, okay? So that's a good example of that. And there was ORLY. Oh yeah, another beautiful O'Reilly, right? So again, trigger, again, very expensive stock for most of you. But look at O'Reilly. Okay, so now it closed right here. Okay, right where that red line is. Okay, green, green, green. As long as it stays green, you can stay in that trade. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? Hopefully that helps. Again, that's the goal of these sessions, to give you ideas, right? You can adjust and modify or throw out, but I've liked Heikin-Ashi for years, and I thought it was time to show everybody how you can trade it. Okay. All right. So actually, let me get the calendar out real quick. I'll tell you when my next session is going to be. Yeah, so the next 3 weeks are canceled then 4 weeks from now, okay? So again, the trend is our friend, okay? When you're looking at like the SPY or the SPX, oops, to give your overall bias, right? We're green, we're good here. So if you're doing your long seasonal plays, you should have a lot of confidence right now, okay? You should have a lot of confidence right now. The markets will probably hit new highs between now and the next time we have a live session, okay? But if it turns around the other direction, right, don't force it. Wait for that, next reentry. Kim, that's something I have programmed, that's all. Yeah. Okay. All right, so the other thing you can do too is you can always have two screens if you wanted to, right? Have the daily and have the normal price candle if you want to see that as well. We just revised my website, so I don't have this up in the store yet. Obviously all the mentees will get this, but eventually I put it in the store if you like that, because it is nice to see, okay, here's an example. Let me blow it up. Okay, so here's an example where the Hakinashi's green, right? Really, really green. What did price do that day? It actually didn't do much, right? It opened and closed almost right where it was at. So it wicked, right? It wicked, okay, which is, again, is a bullish activity. So if you were to go back to the regular one, okay, you're going to see that it didn't do a whole lot, but yet Hakinashi's saying it's a bullish activity, okay, and that's what we're looking for, okay. Yeah, I mean, Mike, if you've never used this, it's really, really good at keeping trends for you, because we all like to overreact, right? I mean, again, I just bring up anything. Let me just bring up something like Ford, okay. I mean, let's say you were only looking for buy plays on Ford Motor Company for your clients, okay. Well, not yet, right? Not yet, but we have a seasonal long coming up on Ford, okay? So when the Laguerre triggers, you can wait for that green. And by the way, the Laguerre triggers, you almost always are going to have a green Hakinashi, okay? Again, I love Laguerre. But then when you get in, you can look at getting out, because if let's say you were in this trade long on Ford, okay? Again, when you have this big down move on Ford with the Hakinashi, that's a good exit point, right? So if you got in here, right, you saved yourself some heartache at this point, okay? And that's where it can be extremely helpful, okay? So again, I will hold a class on this much more. This is being recorded and you can check it out on my YouTube after it's uploaded, but I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. Jim, absolutely. He asked if I look at day trading that. So more to come on that. But I actually, on paper trading, I'm testing some things out, okay? This is the ES today, okay? So at 5:10 Pacific, we had a green Hakinashi with the Laguerre, and look at this move, okay? So where's the second red candle? There's only one here, so we're still in the trade. We would have got out right here, okay? So I would have got in here and made this entire move on the 5-minute chart, okay? So I'm working on something for y'all, absolutely, and it's going to be having the Hakinashi with, with the other indicators that I use. So great question on that, yeah. You can look at something like, crude oil as well. Look at crude today. It had a phenomenal buy trigger once it loads here. I think it's so excited that it takes a minute to load. All right, so when you look at this, let me blow it up just a tad. In fact, let me remove one of my, bear with me 1 second. Okay. So this is crude oil. This is today, okay? So at 6:30 Eastern, you had a trigger to the long side. If you're looking to play it long today, okay, it was actually a little choppy on crude, right? But what you can see is on the 5-minute chart, you never had a Laguerre come back down. That's really bullish, right? So what you do is when you get the curve, you want to be more aggressive, you can then go in when you get the green candles, okay? This was the best trigger right here, though, at 10:50, 1:50 Eastern. where you had the Laguerre trigger and then you had the green candle, so you would have went in right here, okay, and then you would have got in and you made your money here. So it works on anything, absolutely, and it's a great way to, you know, make money on swing trading and day trading. Okay. Yeah, you could use this on Forex as well. Let's say you're going to trade the Euro US dollar today. So one thing to note, you know, when you have these moving averages sideways, I would just skip it. So let's look at something else. Like I actually like to day trade the yen pairs. Okay. So British pound yen. Let's look at the beginning of the day before Europe closes. Okay. So overnight, you had a trigger. Here is a trigger. Right here is a trigger. And again, just to kind of summarize what I like, let's say you get in here, okay? You don't take it out, you don't get out here because there's only one, okay? You would, in theory, get out right here, okay? You get out right here. So you get in, this is your money right here, okay? But anyway, I know this isn't a day trading class, but that was a good question, Jim. Okay, so with that, if you have any questions, you know, feel free to email me. I appreciate that, George. Thank you. Looking forward to being in North Carolina here in 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that move, and everyone's excited about that. We'll be closer to my in-laws and everything, and so forth. So looking forward to it. Other than that, keep in touch, and we'll have, again, we'll resume these live sessions here late October. Okay, folks? Wish you the best. Take care. Bye now.